Well, hello there, friend. Welcome to the Construction Leadership Podcast, where we help construction executives lead high-performing teams, finish on time and under budget, without all the firefighting and babysitting, so you can lead with focus and control. I am your host, Bradley Hartmann. Now, on today's episode, my friend, I'm going to share with you the most useful book that I have read in the last, I don't even know, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. The best thing about this book is the gap between when you read something, you think about it, and you say, that's interesting, maybe I'll do that. And your ability to do that is often 5 minutes. Now, most of the time you read something and you're like, all right, I got to think about that. How do I put that into effect, right? And this idea between exposure versus adoption or implementation, this book cuts through all of that. You can read it, apply it, and lead your team better immediately. So the good thing you will like here is this is a short book, but it is so useful. It is so good. And I will finally, now, my friend, tell you what this book is. It is called The Coaching Habit. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever, by a guy named Michael Bungay Stanier. And as the front cover tells me, they've sold over 500,000 copies. So apparently a lot of other people know about this, but I don't. I can't believe it hasn't sold 10 million copies. It is that good. And the reason it's so good is there are 7 super simple questions. I literally read the first question, and the first person I tried it on was a tough crowd, tough audience who does not like leadership, and that would be my 14-year-old son. Normally, when I see him after school, I try to engage him with these worthless questions that get non-answers like, good, fine. I'll say, how's your day? Or what's new? What'd you learn? Anything exciting happen? All of those are terrible questions that get no response from my son. And I do this over and over and over again. So I tried the first of the 7 questions that are in this book, The Coaching Habit. And the first question is, what's on your mind? So I said to him, hey, what's on your mind? And he goes, what? A clear indication I've broken the normal pattern for our communication after school. And I said, well, what's on your mind? And he paused and he goes, what do you mean? And I chuckled and I said, what's on your mind? And he goes, well, and then he paused. And then he said something that I don't believe I ever would have gotten unless it came from my wife when he disclosed this to her, is he said, I'm thinking a lot about this Spanish class. He's been taking Spanish for 8 years, and now he gets to test out of it because he's in 8th grade to get some AP credit. And he said, I've been working on this for so long, I want to make sure I don't bomb it. Now, this might seem to you like a little thing. To me, this is a bombshell. He never talks to me about what's happening in school. He's a good student. He's sharp. He gets essentially all A's. And for that reason, we kind of leave him alone. So I immediately saw this question, what's on your mind, change the whole structure. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run through questions 2 through 7. All are very simple. And then, as a very practical measure, you are going to hear the author, this guy named Michael, coach up someone named Brene Brown, who you might have heard of. She's kind of super famous in these nerdy little academic, self-help, TED speaker conference sort of circles. So Brene Brown runs a podcast. Her famous book that broke through was called Dare to Lead. And you're going to hear the author, Michael Bungay Stanier, run through these questions with her in real time. And I think you're going to get a ton of value from it. So the first question is real simply, what's on your mind? The second question they call the awe question, AWE. And what else? So, hey, man, what's on your mind? Okay, what else? Number 3 is, what's the real challenge here for you? What's the real challenge here for you? So I can tell you, I read these pages and I started doing this immediately. I had my team buy this book and then read them as well. So they knew the questions I was asking and they knew why I was asking them. And even when I was using them on my team, obviously very transparent, they know what I'm doing, it still led to far more instructive, detailed, useful conversations for both parties. So what's on your mind and what else? What's the real challenge here for you? The fourth question is, what do you want? The fifth question is, how can I help? Those 5 are very easy for me to remember, and it leads to this natural conversation where I am not picking up more problems and challenges and annoyances that I have to deal with when they should reside with the people who are best situated to handle them. That is my team or my clients. And I've also used these questions in our executive coaching leadership practice. And the last 2 questions are, if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? So if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? And the 7th question is, what was most useful or valuable here for you? Go to the show notes and you will see a link to download a graphic put together by Rachel Turner from the VC Talent Lab. It's an easy, very clear-cut snapshot of the questions with the title, The 10-Minute Coaching Session, 7 questions leaders can use to coach their teams. And I have done this. I can tell you this works. So now what you're going to do is you are going to hear this author coach up Brene Brown. And this is a clip from Brene Brown's podcast called Dare to Lead. So what I want you to do is I want you to sit in and listen to the questions that are asked. And I think there's further value for executives out there who might be struggling with very similar challenges within a growth-oriented company that Brene Brown was as well. So here it is. Here's the coaching session between Michael Bungay Stanier and Brene Brown.
Taming the Advice Monster is all about, can you stay curious a little bit longer? Mm-hmm. I thought in our last time together, before we get to rapid fire, I would like your advice on something. So I'm wondering if we can role play that.
Sure.
Would you be willing to do that with me?
Totally. Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh, I hold 1 million pieces of context and connective tissue about what's going on across the organization. And not sharing it is getting in people's way of doing great work, and it's making people feel less connected in what they do every day to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to fix it.
No, and that feels like a hard thing. I feel that myself, so I totally get that. What's the challenge for you in this, do you think, Brene?
Honestly, I thought I was going to say time, but I don't think that's the challenge. I don't know if I can articulate the challenge well. It's the energy it takes to translate what makes total sense to me and is perfectly connected and in context, to articulate that in words to other people. It's like, it's almost an energy issue as much as a time issue. Does that make sense?
It totally does. So you got, I think maybe even 2 things there. One is just the energy it takes. Second is the articulation of it as well. Mm-hmm. They're kind of connected. What else is a challenge here for you, do you think?
This is a challenge, at least feels like a challenge to me. I think my primary role at this point in our organization is context and connective tissue and adding color and helping people understand how 1 million different things that we're doing fit together. Mm-hmm. And I'm failing at it.
Right.
I'm just not doing it. And then I can get resentful because people don't understand the bigger picture.
Right. Damn it. Can't you just read my mind?
Yes, that's it.
Do a mind meld.
Yes, the mind meld. I need a mind meld.
But that, by the way, is not my advice. Because I'm not sure how to pull that off.
Yeah, but if it was, that'd be good.
Yeah, it would be good. Those are all real things. Is there anything else here that feels like a challenge for you, Brene?
I have a real expectation that everyone in the company stops for what we call the 5 C's, which is context, connective tissue, color, cost, and consequence. Mm-hmm. And I'm not modeling what I want people to do.
Got it.
And they don't even have the data to do it if it's not starting with me.
Oh, I hear you.
Grr.
So look, all of those feel really real. If there was one of them that feels most real at the moment, I mean, there's energy, there's articulation, there's the time, there's kind of sense of failure for them, but also the sense of struggling to role model it yourself. Is there one of those that feels kind of most hot for you right now, most important?
I'm thinking. This should be a primary part of my job. What am I doing every day that's not allowing me the time and energy to do it? I wonder how much harder we're all working because we're not prioritizing the time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hard. Yeah, it's discipline.
It's interesting, the distinction between time and discipline, and they can maybe be the same, but they could be different as well.
Yeah.
If I pause for a moment, Brene, and I go, look, part of what's happening here is you've got to a place and an insight around discipline for you. And part of how the conversation has shifted is it started off by going, this isn't happening within this organization. And now the for you questions have helped you go, but it's my discipline around this. If we had more time, or we could do it if you'd like, I could go, so what's the challenge for you in finding the discipline to do this? And you can see that we can just keep going a little bit further around here.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, that's the question I'm going to leave this conversation with is, what is the discipline? What would it look like? And what's the cost? I mean, time is finite.
Yep.
And so I think it's left me with a very different question than when I started, actually. Because I thought you were going to give me like an acronym.
Right.
I thought you were going to say, no, what you need to do is there's a great hack where you start meetings with you stand on your head and, spit nickels. And then if you do that twice in a row, then everybody already knows the context. I thought you were going to give me a hack, but
I have that hack, Brene, but I see that as my competitive advantage over you. So there's no way I'm sharing that with you.
I have to say that one of the things that I find so interesting about your work and about this whole, can you stay curious a little bit longer, is how effing generous it feels on the receiving end of someone asking thought-provoking, compelling questions that most of the world doesn't give a shit about asking you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. And also, I hope, and people listening may have seen this, is just also the generosity of allowing silence to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Because silence makes lots of people uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. Honestly, I'm sitting here sweating slightly after that conversation because there was silence. But I've just learned that one of the most generous acts you can do is just give people 3 minutes thinking time. And this was, I don't know, maybe 3 or 5 minute conversation. And it was just time for you to figure stuff out in your own brain. And me chipping in with stuff just dilutes that, diminishes that. And so my job is just to sit there and try and feel the discomfort of your silence and the discomfort of me going, oh my God, I do this too. I have some ideas. I have some things that I've tried around this. So wanting to give advice, but going, it just doesn't really serve the other person.
No, because I think I need to grapple with time and energy and discipline.
Well, of the 7 questions we talked about, the question I'd ask you to sit with is, so what do you want?
Yeah, that's I don't know. The first answer that came to my head, I know you're going to be like, huh, if you were my therapist, I could take this. I'll talk to my therapist about this tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I would say to play pickleball and rest.
Right. I do know you have an obsession with pickleball at the moment. So I get that. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because that suddenly becomes another conversation.
Yeah.
And one that fits in the context of how do I help connection and context work across a diverse company with a ton of different initiatives going, people being busy and committed and working hard. And there's a hunger you have for pickleball and rest. And then you can go, okay, man, that's a great answer. What's the challenge for you here then in creating context and finding pickleball and rest?
So what do you think? Pretty unique perspective being able to listen in on a coaching session like this with such a powerful executive and a respected leader like Brene Brown. What really stood out to me was knowing these questions. And again, the 7 questions are, what's on your mind? And what else? What's the real challenge here for you? What do you want? How can I help? And then the last 2, again, I haven't really even used these at all. I've gotten so much value from the first 5, but I do want to experiment with these. If you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? And what was most useful or valuable here for you? So you can hear Michael moving around a little bit. He's not asking these exactly. So he's making them a little bit more authentic. He starts with, tell me what's on your mind. And then he says, what's the challenge in this for you? And then he says, what else is a challenge here for you? And then he says, is there anything else here that poses a challenge here for you? Right? And then you heard him kind of recap all the things Brene said. And then he said, is there one of those that feels most important here for you? And then he asked the same question again with a little bit more context. He says, what's the challenge here for you of making this a primary part of your job? And then he just threw the anything else instead of and what else? And then he closed with, and what do you want? Now, there was one other aspect of this coaching conversation that I loved that both Brene Brown and Michael exhibited, which I struggle with, but I'm getting better at. I'm focusing on this, is letting this thing breathe. If you listen to this at 1.0 speed, which I do not, I listen to all podcasts at 1.5 speed. If you listen to this at normal 1.0 speed, these silences were brutal. I was cringing. My mind was lurching forward saying, say something, fill the void. But both Brene Brown in her responses let it sit a little bit. At one point she said, I'm thinking here. And Stanier just let it sit. Just let it ride, did not fill that void. And then at the end, he said, yes, of course, my body was reacting viscerally. I was sweating over here, not filling that void. And that's such a powerful thing to do. That is so not easy. And they really connected the dots. And one of the mental models that I try to structure my life around and our coaching and our leadership is this triad of value of thoughtfulness, generosity, and specificity. And they got very specific to the heart of the matter here. And both of them said creating that space, sitting in that silence a little bit was very generous. You don't get that very often from people. And that's why Stanier talks about this idea of taming your advice monster. Most of us, and I'm absolutely guilty of this, I want to rush to offer advice. I want to rush to say, oh, well, here's what you got to do, or use this acronym, or here's a mental model, or you should read this book and solve all your problems. Man, sometimes the most effective way to give coaching is to not give them the answer. Let them dwell in it for a little bit, not in a mean way, but give them enough space and give them permission to think it all the way through and to share what they're feeling in the different angles. Oftentimes, they're going to come to the best solution themselves. And when you are the coach who enabled that to happen, man, they're going to be energized, they're going to be empowered, and they are going to be excited to attack that problem. And not only is it going to give you less to do, you are going to get credit for helping them arrive at that solution anyway. All right, that's it. The book is The Coaching Habit, Say Less, Ask More, and Change the Way You Lead Forever by Michael Bungay Stanier. There are 7 questions. I've only used the first 5. I've gotten so much value from this. I forgot to even tell you, In addition to making my team buy this and read it, I bought 50 copies for one of our clients. We're going to be using that in a coaching session. This is a book you got to have. Trust me when I say you will get value from it and you can apply it immediately. And as a bonus, in addition to the snapshot of the 7 questions in our show notes, we also have the transcript of that coaching session. So if that sounded valuable and useful looking in on another coaching session, the transcript is in there for you, because this is something that I have studied and I've tried to emulate in some of our coaching sessions with executive leaders. All right, I'm done. You're owed nothing. Deliver value first. Make it a great week.